In 1995, Stephen PLADL of New York met an underage Alyssa online who lived in Texas. He flew down to see her and started a sexual relationship. Both his and Alyssa's parents did not approve of their courtship, but believed that there was really nothing they could do to keep them apart, so they allowed it. 2 years after they met, when Alyssa was only 17 years old, she became pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Stephen and Alyssa's relationship then grew rocky. Alyssa claims Stephen was physically abusive towards her and their daughter, whom they named Denise. For example, he'd pinch baby Denise so hard he'd leave marks on her and even put her in a cooler with the lid closed to stop her from crying. In an effort to protect Denise, Alyssa claims she coaxed Stephen to put her up for adoption. Stephen agreed, and little 8-month-old Denise was adopted by the Fuscos. They changed Denise's name to Katie. It appeared that Denise, now Katie, had escaped what was sure to be a tragic existence with her biological parents and was now thriving with her new adoptive parents. Meanwhile, Stephen and Alyssa were still married and even had 2 more girls together, but once again, the introduction of children did not help Stephen and Alyssa's relationship. Instead, it became more volatile and Stephen began to abuse his family. Once Katie turned 18, she wanted to find her birth parents, Stephen and Alyssa. She utilized Facebook to find them and sent them a message. Stephen and Alyssa were delighted, and eventually plans were made to have Katie live with them instead of going to college. Katie's adoptive parents were apprehensive, but since Katie was now 18, they didn't see much they could do and supported her decision. Once Katie arrived at the PLADL home, things quickly changed. 40-year-old Stephen started to alter his appearance in an effort to look younger and act cool. He was behaving less like a father and more like a boyfriend. This very awkward situation did not go unnoticed by the other family members. Alyssa said Stephen shaved his beard, dressed differently, and took more pride in his appearance once Katie arrived. He even started to sleep in the same room as Katie at night, albeit on the floor. Alyssa asked Stephen about these changes, and Stephen, in typical form, just got angry. Alyssa tried to warn Katie about the abuse committed by her father when she was a baby, prompting the adoption, but Katie did not seem to care. Alyssa had enough. She moved out and filed for divorce. Custody of their daughters was shared equally, and Katie soon began filling the shoes of her mother. Apparently, she had already been having sexual relations with her own father, but now her sisters were instructed to call her stepmom. Stephen and Alyssa's 11-year-old daughter, Katie's sister, wrote entries in her diary describing the very troubling and twisted households she was living in and the sickening relationship between her sister and father. She reveals that Katie is pregnant by their father, and that her father is a demon, not one who would be tortured in hell, but who would do the actual torturing. Once Alyssa saw the diary, she completely lost it. When she confronted Stephen, he said, "I thought you knew. We're in love." Alyssa reported the incestuous relationship to the police and was able to get custody of the 2 girls, but Katie and Stephen remained together. And if their relationship couldn't get any more disgusting, the 2 went to Maryland and got married. It's illegal for father and daughter to marry in Maryland, but since the 2 didn't disclose their filial relationship, the marriage took place without being questioned at the time. It should be noted that in attendance were Stephen's parents as well as Katie's adoptive parents, the Fuscos. Katie gave birth to a son named Bennett, but the scandalous couple was soon arrested and charged with incest, adultery, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Stephen was released on bond after a court hearing and was forbidden from leaving the state and having contact with Katie, but he was allowed access to Bennett, who was with Stephen's mother. When Katie was released on bail, she went to New York to live with her adoptive parents, the Fuscos. Against court orders, she contacted her father and told him it was over. Stephen was not happy about this and went off the rails. He went to his mother's house and told her he was taking Bennett to visit Katie in New York. Instead, he took his infant son back to his home and strangled him to death. Then, unbeknownst to anyone else at the time, he drove all night to New York to see Katie at her adoptive parents' house. He knew their schedule and waited until they left their home. Stephen stalked them in his car, following closely, and once they stopped at a red light, Stephen opened fire and murdered Katie and Katie's adoptive father. Stephen's mother later called 911 and told them about Stephen's confession.
Yes, my son just called me, and he told me oh my God, in North Carolina, he killed his baby, and he's in the house.
Okay, you said that he told you he killed his baby? Okay, ma'am, listen to me. What's your name?
Remember, not only was Stephen's mother present at her son's wedding to his own daughter, her granddaughter and now daughter-in-law, she also knew about his relationship with Katie's mother, Alyssa, who was underage when she and Stephen met online and started their sexual relationship. Stephen was never arrested or brought to trial. He ended up shooting and killing himself. So to recap, Stephen PLADL lured an underage girl into a sexual relationship, got her pregnant with a daughter he then abused, then he had a sexual relationship with that same child, his own daughter, illegally married her, got her pregnant with his own son/grandson, and then he eventually killed his own son/grandson, as well as his daughter/wife, and then killed himself. This is easily one of the craziest and most disturbing stories I've ever heard. What do you think of this story? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.